Cedar Creek, Wyoming, a land of rolling hills, endless skies, and hard-earned peace. At least, it was until trouble came roaring in on two wheels. Kara Mitchell had made a name for herself long before anyone in Cedar Creek ever heard of her. As a sniper in the Army's elite Green Berets, Kara had 397 confirmed kills. Her name was whispered with reverence in military circles and with fear by those who ever found themselves in her crosshairs. But war had cost her plenty: friends, sleep, and eventually, her husband. When he died in an accident 5 years ago, Kara left her unit, put down her rifle, and returned home to raise their 2 children alone. She was 50 now, tough as iron from years of battle, but softened by her love for her land. Life on the Mitchell family farm was supposed to be quiet. Kara thought she'd left violence behind for good. The long days and early mornings brought her a kind of peace. Mending fences, tending to the horses, planting crops, each task was grounding. Cedar Creek was far from the battles of her past, but war has a way of finding warriors. One bright morning in early June, Kara was patching up the western fence line. The sun was already high, beating down on her tan, weathered skin. Her hands worked methodically, as if still handling the precision of a sniper rifle. She didn't notice the distant rumble at first, just the faint hum of something unnatural for this quiet place. It grew louder, until the unmistakable growl of a motorcycle engine cut through the stillness. Kara straightened and glanced toward the road. A single rider approached, his bike kicking up dust in its wake. He stopped just past the gate, cutting the engine. The man dismounted with practiced ease. He wore a battered leather vest, its back patch declaring him a member of the Steel Vultures, a name that carried weight, even here. His beard was scruffy, his eyes sharp, cold. He stared at Kara for a long time, taking her posture, the set of her shoulders, the calluses on her hands, appraising her like a predator sizing up another. Without a word, he started his bike and sped off in a cloud of dust. But Kara's gut told her this wasn't just a friendly visit. She stood still for a moment, listening, breathing, scanning the horizon the way she'd been trained to do in countless war zones. Then she returned to her work, though her mind was already shifting through possibilities. That afternoon, Kara's 16-year-old daughter, Lily, came running into the barn, her face flushed and worried. "Mom," she called. "Mrs. Jensen just called. She said there were bikers at the gas station asking about us. They wanted to know who owned this place." Kara's hands froze on the bridle she was repairing. "Did they say why?" Lily shook her head. "No, but Mrs. Jensen said they looked serious. Like, organized." "Where's Jake?" Kara asked, referring to her 11-year-old son. "Out by the chicken coop with Scout." Scout was their Australian shepherd. The dog was fiercely loyal and fiercely protective. Kara walked briskly out of the barn, scanning her surroundings instinctively. Scout barked sharply from the other side of the yard, near the coop. Kara spotted Jake crouched by the chickens, his pale face turned toward the road. "Mom," he called, pointing. There were 3 bikes earlier. They just sat there, watching the house. Kara's stomach tightened. Scout had been acting strange all morning, restless and alert, the way he had last year when a mountain lion had come down out of the hills. "You and Lily stay close to the house," Kara said. "Don't go anywhere without Scout." That evening, Kara drove into Cedar Creek to the feed store. The place was busy, people chatting about crops and weather, but there was an edge in the air. Folks lowered their voices when she walked in. Sam Parker, the owner, gave her a grim nod. "Kara," he greeted her, leaning over the counter. "I heard the Steel Vultures are sniffing around your place." "They're not just sniffing," Kara said. "They've been shaking down farms and businesses all through the valley," Sam continued. "Anyone who can't pay their fees ends up with a burn barn. Or worse." Kara's jaw clenched. "How many so far?" "A dozen, maybe more," Sam said. "And these aren't just your run-of-the-mill bikers. They've got ex-military in their ranks. Mercenaries, some of them." Just then, the bell above the door jingled. Martha Larkin, Kara's neighbor from up the ridge, hurried inside. She was a widow in her 70s and one of the few people who remembered Kara as a little girl. "You need to see this," Martha said. She carried a folded newspaper. Inside was a grainy photo of a man with a scar running from his temple to his chin. His name was Cole Viper Jennings. He was the leader of the Steel Vultures. "They already took over 3 towns north of here," Martha said. "Burned the Watson farm last week when they wouldn't pay." Kara's mind worked quickly, like it always had before an op. She calculated risks, weighed strategies. "Thanks for the heads up," Kara said. "If you see or hear anything else, call me." When Kara returned to the farm, Lily and Jake were finishing their chores. Lily's eyes were sharp, just like her mother's. "Black motorcycle passed twice while you were gone," she reported. "They're watching us." Kara nodded. "We're not panicking," she said. "But we're not ignoring it, either. Stick to the routines. Stay close to the house. Keep Scout with you." That night, Kara sat on the porch cleaning her old shotgun. She'd bought it for coyotes years ago, but tonight it was for something else entirely. Her hands moved smoothly over the worn metal, cleaning and loading shells. She listened to the crickets and the rustle of leaves, but kept glancing toward the barn. Behind the hay bales, in a false wall she'd built herself, was her old sniper rifle and a full set of tactical gear. Tools she hoped she'd never need again. But she had prepared for this. 2 days later, the confrontation Kara had expected came. It was sunset. 4 bikers rode up to the gate. Their engines rumbled like distant thunder. Cole Viper Jennings dismounted first, moving with slow confidence. His leather vest bore patches of rank and violence. He walked up to the gate, looking out across the fields like he already owned them. "Nice place you've got here," he said, his voice rough and amused. "Shame if something happened to it." "Private property," Kara replied, standing calmly on the porch. "Keep moving." Viper chuckled. "Oh, I think you misunderstand. We're offering protection. For a reasonable fee, say, $5,000 a month." "Not interested," Kara said evenly. Viper's smile faded. "Everyone's interested eventually. Just ask the Watsons." "You said your piece," Kara said. "Now get off my land." Viper's eyes hardened. "You've got till the end of the week. After that, things might get unpredictable." As they roared away, Kara's mind was already racing. She spent the night walking the perimeter, noting boot prints and tire tracks. These weren't amateurs. They were organized, trained. That night, Kara called a meeting in her barn. Martha came. So did Sam. Tom Keller, another neighbor, showed up with his 2 grown sons. "The sheriff's useless," Tom said. "They've got him in their pocket." "Then it's up to us," Martha said. Kara opened a locked chest and revealed her rifle, a Beret M107, along with tactical maps of the area. "If they're coming," Kara said, "we're not going to make it easy." For the next 3 days, Cedar Creek transformed. Fences were fortified, sight lines cleared, escape routes marked, tripwires laid. Kara taught Lily and Jake the basics of movement and communication. The townsfolk were organized, disciplined. It wasn't an army, but it was close. The Steel Vultures returned just before dawn. 20 bikes thundered down the road. They split into flanking positions, riding with a precision that told Kara they were ex-military. From her perch in the hayloft, Kara steadied her rifle. She whispered into her radio. "Positions. Stay low." Viper's voice boomed across the field. "Last chance. Hand over the farm, and we'll let you walk." Kara's reply was a single shot that took out the engine of his lead bike. The explosion of smoke and sparks sent the vultures diving for cover. "Game on," Kara muttered. For the next hour, Cedar Creek was a battlefield. Kara's rifle barked, disabling engines and scattering men. Her neighbors fought with equal ferocity. Even Lily joined the fray, knocking a biker flat with a swing of her softball bat. By sunrise, the vultures were retreating. They left half their bikes behind. Several of their men were injured. Viper glared at Kara from the back of a truck as it sped away. "This isn't over," he called. "I know," Kara murmured. The next night, they came again, 30 bikes, this time with heavier weapons. Cedar Creek was ready. Every barn, ditch, and silo had been turned into a defensive stronghold. Kara moved like a ghost through the chaos, her rifle finding its mark again and again. The vultures never knew what hit them. By dawn, Viper stood alone in a field, his bike disabled. Kara approached him, her rifle trained on his chest. "It's over," she said. "You've lost." Viper dropped his knife and glared. "There's more like us out there." "Then we'll be ready," Kara said. Behind her, the people of Cedar Creek emerged from cover, dirty, exhausted, but standing tall. "You came for my land, my family, my town," Kara said. "Now you face the consequences." By sunrise, the steel vultures were disarmed and rounded up. Fires were put out. Wounds were tended. Kara stood tall in the light of morning, her children by her side. The farm was scarred but unbroken. Cedar Creek stood together. They had come to break this town. They had come to take everything Kara Mitchell held dear. But they had forgotten one thing. You never corner a predator without expecting a fight. And when you do, you'd better pray she doesn't bite back.